TW here. I have to first make an apology. This is going to be a after the fact video. I got to shoot the 300 hammer and I rebuilt the 350 Legend, both AR platforms, and shot them both here on the target. I tried to video at the range. It was going to be short, but it was pretty cold. Not awful. It was just above freezing, low 30s, but the wind was constant, and the wind chill was down cold in the low 20s. And like a stupid ass, I put the camera on the tripod because I was going to shoot 2 or 3 other guns first and save the best for last, so to speak. And it was out there in the cold, and when I went to record, take pictures, it was telling me everything was too hot. And that's what the iPhones do when they're too cold. They don't know the difference between hot and cold, so it says too hot when it's too cold or too cold when it's too hot. So I don't have any video, but I do have the target, and I'm going to go over it here with you really quick because I know it's a little more boring than the actual shooting part. So this is just a big piece of paper. This is how I like to do it. Just a big piece of white paper, because obviously, you know, we've all been to the range. There's a million bullet holes, and trying to find yours out of all those bullet holes is tough. So piece of freezer paper works really good, parchment paper, or I have this just from printing industry, just newspaper. I use this. Throw it up there, gives you a good white sheet with no holes in it. I throw some pasters on it. There we go. Come back with the magic marker. You're good. So here's my aiming point, which is just the center of the paper. So I just put the crosshairs there and hope that I'm within this piece of paper to be able to adjust to zero the rifle. And I was. Here was the first shot. And then here was the second shot. I'm sorry. Here was the first shot. Here was the second shot. Again, aiming here. So I figured I'm close enough. I started here. 3, 4, 5. Sighted in. Good. With the Legend, and I'll show you the gun in a minute here. With the Legend, I decided to make the Legend upper the hammer upper. So I pulled it apart, pulled the barrel off, and put the hammer barrel on, put it all back together the way it was. So it got a new barrel for the hammer, a new gas block, and a new gas tube. But the rest of the parts, the bolt carrier group, you know, the upper itself, the handguard, are all the same as what the Legend had. The reason I decided that was because the Legend was giving me troubles. It wasn't cycling like it should. It wasn't accurate as it should. That's the one that I'd showed you guys before, where I cut it off and recrowned it twice. I was going to get rid of it, and I decided not to. I had some more parts laying around, so I decided to put together another upper. The only thing I didn't have was a bolt carrier group, but these are the same bolt heads, so I can use the same bolt carrier group. So I wasn't worried about that. Can't shoot them both at the same time when you only have that one lower, so I use the same bolt carrier group for both of these guns. So the Legend got a new upper, a new forend, a new scope rings. It even got a new gas tube and gas block. And I can show you that really quick here in the video if I don't go too long with time. And surprisingly, it shot 100% for about a dozen shots or so I shot out of it. Perfect function, perfect feeding, and as you'll see, pretty good accuracy. The bullets, the cases, the empty brass, was going directly to the right and maybe a little bit forward, which shows you how your gas system is operating. I got to do a little research and see just what that means. I did cut the barrel back to 18 inches. So that changes the dwell time. Dwell is the amount of time the bullet is in the barrel after it goes by the gas port. So it's probably about 12 inches to 10.5 inches now, where before it was a lot longer. Longer means more gas buildup. The gas port is sized for the amount of dwell time is in your barrel. So the gas port in the barrel is probably a little bit small, which is why it's ejecting up there forward and to the right of the gun. when I shot the, I'll continue on the Legend because it's quicker. When I shot the Legend, here was the first shot, and here was the second shot, and then I just moved it over here, and here's the third shot, and then I shot these three. And this isn't stellar, but center to center, it's 835. Hold on, let me make sure this one's, it's a little bigger than that. Center to center, this is 880. 0.880. Group. That's pretty damn good. I don't think I've ever done that with this gun, with this load. So I'm pretty psyched about that. I got a brand new 300 hammer, and I should be excited about that. That's the casings you see laying here. But the fact that that Legend shot so good when I've had so many problems with it, with feeding and accuracy, and I chopped the barrel off, I recrowned it, and put it in a new upper with a new scope and a new mounts and everything, and it shoots like this. So I'm pretty excited about that. I'm glad I didn't put it on the chopping block and get rid of it. Back over to the hammer. So we've made all our shots and we're zeroed. This here is, and let me move it over and zoom you guys in a little, and we'll measure this one too. These were 5-shot groups. Trying not to make a mess here. These are 5-shot groups. Okay, I got you zoomed in there pretty good. 5-shot groups, and I think, I don't really have a pointer here. Use this file. I don't remember what they were. It doesn't really matter, but this hole here is bigger than this hole to my eye. But this one is definitely a double. So I've either got 3 in this or I've got 2 in this. But in any event, that's 5 shots. And that's this bullet. This is a bullet, if you know my history, this is a bullet that I shot one of my first deer with the 300 Blackout with this bullet. This is a Sierra Pro Hunter 125 grain hollow point designed for the 30-30. And it's actually wicked fragile. This bullet came apart at 160 yards on a deer's shoulder in the 300 Blackout. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. I got the deer, I didn't lose it. But velocity, no idea. I'm going to guesstimate. I probably was in the 2150, 2200 muzzle velocity range. So at 160 yards, I probably was dropping down a little under 2000. You know, less velocity should make the bullet hold together better, you'd think, but it didn't. So I don't ever use these on big game anymore, but they'd be good for coyotes, and they're perfectly fine for target because they did shoot well. So I loaded up a bunch here to break in this barrel. So here we go. We've got 5 shots here, and if I go from the farthest to the farthest, I think these are the farthest away. It's just about the same. So I aim for the outside edge of both of these. We are at 1.196. 1.196 inches. Just over an inch. Remember now, this is the first shots out of the gun. This is literally 5. This is the 5th through the 10th shot out of the barrel. Ever in the barrel's lifetime. They almost never go downhill for accuracy after the break-in. They almost always, you know, tighten up and shoot better. So I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty excited. The cartridge, it's a good looking cartridge. I'm getting pretty good velocity. This was 2375, which isn't crazy screaming fast, and it wasn't. This is just a starting load. I think it's a half a grain or so above a starting load, just to have ammo to shoot in the gun. Oops, that's a different bullet. Just to have ammo to shoot in the gun. So I'm not judging it for accuracy. I'm kind of just saying, wow, you know, it's shooting good. And then I shot this one over here. I'm trying not to make a big mess in my paper. And this one here I only had 3 bullets for, because that was what was left over in a box, just three projectiles. And these were 110 grain Nosler Varmageddons. I like this bullet in the blackout. It's been really good for me. It's taken a couple coyotes. It expands good. I don't think I'd use it on deer, but it probably would hold together. But I got 2,615 feet per second. And again, this is not a heavy load. This was, you know, half a grain or a grain over a starting load. And it was just thrown together to shoot the bullets up and see. But I'm pretty sure it was 1, 2, no, it was 1, 2, 3. So it was like the cooties in the barrel, and then it shot really good. So that's just great. I am thrilled. This is a what we got there, 6.653 inch group for 3 shots. And what was this one? 1.12. Pretty impressed with that. I don't know how many 110s I'll be shooting out of this gun, because in my experience, 110s in the blackout on deer are a little on the light side for most 110s. So I'd be afraid that the bullet would come apart. It wouldn't hold together. But for coyotes, it'd be fine. And then we went over here. This is the bullet that was designed for this cartridge. And here it is right here. This is a Speer 130 grain flat point, made for the 30-30. And this is the bullet that he designed the cartridge around, or designed it with its use in mind. And there's a 5-shot group. I don't know really where the 5th one is. That one kind of looks egged. I'm going to say it's there, but it doesn't really matter. It's somewhere there. So if we go here from the farthest out sides on this group, we've got just over 1.1 inches. I'm ecstatic. I really am. Now you say 1.1 inches, that's, you know, that's good. It's not great and nothing to write home about. The barrel's not even broken yet. I think I've got 17, 19 rounds through the barrel. I'm ecstatic. I'm thrilled. I'm not complaining at all. I took 2 of these and threw them out at 200. And I didn't go to get my target. So it was my buddy's target. I threw them out there at 200, and I just held Kentucky windage, what I figured. You know, figured about 4 inches or so drop. I held, you know, kind of like up here. And at 200 yards, he had a 2-inch paster. This is about 1.5 inches. Maybe that's 2 inches. It's just under 2 inches. So he had a 3-inch paster, because it's bigger than that. Yeah, he had a 3-inch paster. So he had a 3-inch paster at 200 yards. The first shot hit like over here. The second shot hit down here. So I'm inside a 3-inch circle at 200 yards for the 19th and the 18th, or the 17th and the 16th round out of the gun, shooting these. The only downside was velocity, and it was 2150. I've shot a couple deer with this bullet in the blackout at 1900 or so, and the bullet expands and works really well. So it's an improvement over the blackout, but the blackout should be able to almost do that velocity. I can get 2000 safely in the blackout without pushing things with 150 grain. This is 130. So 2150, it should be attainable in the blackout with a maximum load of this bullet. So this velocity is nothing to write home about. But again, it's like, I don't remember, half a grain no more than a grain over starting, because I kept them low, not having any idea where things are going to shoot. So I'm ecstatic. I'm really, really, really pleased. Everything cycled. Everything shot really well. And zero problems. Here's the next one I'm going to test. I don't have many of these. These are, I actually pulled them out of my blackout loads just because I've shot stuff with these bullets. I think I've got a deer or two with these in the blackout. These are 125 Nosler ballistic tips. And I had some old ones. These changed. If you don't know, these changed. They went from a varmint bullet to a game bullet. A ways back. Nothing recent. They now have a tapered jacket. And they're now considered a big game bullet. They used to just have a varmint jacket, which is the same thickness all the way down, just like a pistol bullet. These now have a tapered jacket, just like most all hunting bullets. So they tended to be a little bit tough, a little bit strongly constructed for the velocities that the blackout could do, which is basically 22 max, 100 feet per second. Well, in this caliber, I'm supposed to be able to do over 25, pushing 26 with a 125. Here's a 110. I got 26 with, like I said, just over a starting load. I'm pretty excited. I'm going to definitely get more of these if they shoot good. Again, it's just a one load test, and I'm sticking with, I didn't mention that, I'm sticking with CFE Black for this gun right now. I will try others down the road, but right now I'm going to stick with CFE Black. I had a pound that was just loaded, just a few cartridges with, and I picked up 2 more pounds at my local place, so I'm going to stick with that powder. Let me pull some uppers in here, and I'll show you. Here's the new blackout upper. Just a cheap Simmons Pro Sport 4-12 scope. This has lived on an air gun for like the past 5 or 6 or 8 years, but it's a good scope. So I figured it would be a good candidate over here. I picked up some scopes on recommendation of my buddy, Alabama Arsenal, a couple years ago, and they turned out to be water resistant, not waterproof. We didn't realize, but they were a really good price, and they're a really nice scope. But I figured I don't want to have them on a hunting gun that I might be out there in the weather, so I figured they're a perfect candidate for an air gun. So I put them on my air guns, which will never see rain. And my PCPs, both my PCPs wear that scope now. So this scope came off and it got over here. I really like these rings. They're Nikon. They just work really good. I'm a firm believer in a bubble. I've got a bubble on all my guns. Nothing special. I don't even know who makes this forend. I don't know who makes this upper. But the gas block is new. I was just talking with my buddy, and he had me assemble a couple of uppers for him with side charging receivers. Pull off these receivers and put on side charging. And they're Bear Creek, and they came with these clamp-on style gas blocks. Happen to be the same. I don't know if this is a mid-length or a carbine. Doesn't really matter. I'm a stickler for, I always worry about getting that gas port lined up, and I was worried that was part of the problem with this gun. So what I like to do is I like to get a bore scope, and my other buddy has a bore scope with a long wand, and you just stick it down there, and you can see your gas port, and you can line up and get it perfect. One of the other guys just did a video having problems with his gas block, and wanted to know some tips on how to get it lined up perfect, and I commented there, just get a bore scope. Well, I went over to my other buddies who's got a really nice one, and I thought it was 12-inch. Turns out it's only 9, so I couldn't use it. But when I was talking to him, he said, I need some low-profile gas blocks. All I got is these big honking things, and they won't fit inside my my 4 ends and I got to order them. I said, I've got a couple of them. So he gave them to me to put together, and he said I could have these gas blocks. So I immediately threw it right on here. Well, when I opened it up and looked at it, the size of the orifice in your barrel is what determines how everything works. The size of the hole in your gas block only has a minute effect on that. It's pretty much restricted by the hole in your barrel. So the hole in here is actually slightly oval, and it's almost twice as wide as the hole is in the barrel. So basically what I'm telling you is aligning this gas block, aside from its shape, I'm getting there, aligning this with that gas hole is dead simple. You just measure from your front shoulder to the hole, which on most gas blocks, you just look through that front screw hole and it lines right up. But you measure it, and then you measure your barrel, and you can know your front and back distance, because some of the guns had the clamshell 4 ends, and they had a piece of steel that went in there. So people worry about back and forth movement. Should I push it against the shoulder? Should I pull it back a little bit? You know, alignment being perfect. This is slightly oval, so it doesn't matter. This one here is cake, because all you have to do is, that hole is drilled dead center, that gas hole, perfect dead center on the top of the barrel. You put a level on your receiver, you put your barrel in your upper, you put the nut on it, you put your gas block on, you put a level on this. When this is level and your receiver's level and they match, that gas port hole is lined up perfect. And I think that was part of my problem. I think I was slightly out before, which is why I had the feeding problems, why I had the ejection problems, the function problems. And here is where the dwell time is, I was talking to about a minute ago. The amount of time the bullet is in the barrel after it goes past that gas hole. Before, it was 24 inches, and then it was 20 inches. Now it's 18. Actually, it's going to be like 17 and a half, because I measured full barrel length and chopped it at 18. And to properly measure, you measure from the end of your bolt head. So you slide a bolt in, push a rod down, mark it, pull it out, and then measure your rod. That's the length of your barrel. So it's going to actually be 17 and a half, 17 and 5/8, something like that. But that's the blackout, and I'm psyched because it's working. Let me get you here's the hammer. So I've shown this before, and before it was a Thrifty Legend. And if you watched my short, I gave a quick short that showed this barrel on the gun. But there is the Wilson Combat logo. And you can't read it, but under here it says 300 hammer. And wow. I got a right-on scope on here, just a cheapy primal 4-12. But it's got that pigplex that I really like. And I've got my favorite Quah Valley linear comp on the front. It sends the sound and gases forward, so it stops that crack in your ears, or it cuts down on that. Forwarder, a lot of people call it. And there we go. The only other thing that's a new thing is these magazines from, where are these from? Lancer. This is a hybrid, steel and plastic. 100%. Worked 100%. I really like it. They were like, they were under 20 bean sprouts last time, or when I got this last month. So I'm going to pick up a couple more of these. Just a 10 rounder. And perfect what I want. I actually prefer to get 5s, because it's a hunting gun, and some places want you to have 5 rounds. But there we go. All right, I made this video long enough. That was the first video for the 300 hammer. There definitely is going to be more. It's going to be a shooter. I'm really excited about it. And I'm heading out to the range tomorrow, if weather allows. Hopefully, I can get a little bit of footage, and we can see what a couple different pieces of ammo do. God bless everybody. CW out.